Hello, this is Susan. My channel is Susan's Ramblings. Today I said this week we will be featuring all bread and roll recipes. Make sure you have flour and you have yeast. Two of my favorite bread recipes are these, and I specifically keep all those ingredients in my house just so I can make these breads. Most people will say if you make a bare bread, you have to have it cut it in half and have to have dips and so forth with it, and you can't use it for anything else. But if you put the bread in a plastic bag after it's cooled, it will stay soft, it won't get hard, and you can use it for sandwiches or toast or anything you want to use it for. I use these recipes because they're very simple and very, very easy to make. You just whip it up really fast. In fact, if you have self-rising bread, you don't, self-rising bread, well, that would be great, wouldn't it? Self-rising flour, you could just have that and you have the beer, and that's all you have. You mix it all up and it's all together, so that's just two ingredients. Something very, very simple to have, something very, very easy to make. Those are the ones I use most. All right, turning on to the next one. I have several recipes here. One is a muffin mix, and it keeps in the refrigerator. You mix it up one time, and it makes a large batch, and you keep it in your refrigerator. That way, every time you want some muffins, you want a fresh bread, just grab it out and you cook it. So I use that one a lot too. It's always in my refrigerator. That way I can have fresh muffins. I don't know if you can see what it said. There we go. All right. I don't know if that's going to work or not. But anyway, the fresh muffin. Another recipe I do a lot of times is the Tupperware bread. I love this recipe. Called Tupperware because I'm assuming, and I don't know for sure, but they have this great big huge bowl and it's covered. And so I'm assuming somebody came up with a bread to make in that, one of their test kitchens or something. But anyway, it's really easy to make. It does take more time, but you can make it in the morning with all the other things. You can have it all put up together and baked in the morning. Got kind of a sourdough dough texture. It's not a sourdough dough, but the texture is like a sourdough. So if you don't like that texture, well, look for something else, okay? But it is a very, very easy recipe to do. The first time I made it, I had the first 4 steps, I guess it was. What did I do, if I can see? But anyway, I done most of it. I did it in the steps. And just as I was to add the butter, and my daughter called, and she had to go down to a restaurant, and I understood it would be just for a little while, and she needed me to watch children. The children were really, really small at that time, and so I said, okay, let me put the butter in this, and I'll be right over. Well, I went over, I put the butter in, I closed it up, and then you're supposed to wait, I guess, another 30 minutes. And then form it in the doughs and so forth and so forth. But anyway, I left. I did the butter, put the butter in, and I covered it up, and I left, thinking I would be back in maybe half an hour. Generally, when she says a few minutes, that's what happened. Anyway, so I got over there, and she left, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited some more for her. Finally, I called, and I said, what's going on down there? And she said, well, one of the servers didn't show up, and so she had to serve, so she wouldn't be home until 9 o'clock that night. In the meantime, my bread was sitting at home in my bowl, covered, doing whatever it was doing. And by this time, it had been a couple hours since she had left, so I had no idea what was going on, and I didn't want to load up the small children and go over to my place to find out what was going on either. So I just left it. Anyway, I got home that night, about 5 hours later, and after I put in the bread. And my bread had risen enough so that it pushed out off the cover, and it was literally running all over my kitchen counter. So that bread, I'm afraid, got thrown out. I didn't know if it was safe anymore, so we threw it out and we tried it again. That was my first experience with Tupperware bread, but it is really a good bread, and I make it several times a month, I would say. And everybody likes it. I even made it for people who needed a special bread. They had company come and they had a soup and they wanted a special bread for it. And these you cut in big slices and you had your homemade bread. And they loved it. Again, they said it didn't taste like sourdough, but it was like sourdough bread. This is another recipe I use quite frequently. It's a very, very easy recipe. Yeah, it's a very, very easy recipe. If you like English muffins, you're going to like this bread. Okay, this I used for toast a lot of times. I will also use it for sandwiches. These recipes, by the way, are in my cookbook. And I have plenty of cookbooks. So if you want a cookbook, email me. And my email address will be on the bottom of this, in the description of the box. Okay. The last few recipes that I use all the time are cherry biscuits. This is from a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. She's a wonderful cook. And I understand, I don't know if she makes them, but her husband, she calls her husband the bun queen, bread queen. Anyway, I like these recipes because I can make it up and I can put it in the refrigerator, and there again I have something that I can quickly put together. It's in my refrigerator. It's kept. I can't get that straightened out. There we go. Maybe that's straightened out. It's cut now. Not really. I don't know what's going on here and why it won't get there we go. Why it won't work, but anyway, it is a recipe that you can make up ahead. You put it in your refrigerator, and I believe somewhere along the line, I don't know how long, after 2 weeks. So make a batch of biscuits whenever you want, and it's biscuits too. So that's another recipe. Another simple recipe I have is this one, and I like this because all I have to do is mix it up, let it rise for a few minutes, and I put it in muffin tins, and I've got my buns. And it takes maybe an hour from this time I start until the time I take my buns out, and I can eat them. So I can start my rolls before I see if I can get them both in there. Start my rolls as I start supper or start dinner, and then when the rest of the dinner is ready, my rolls will be ready too. And so we'll have fresh rolls and whatever else I decide to have as a main dish for dinner. These are some of my easy recipes. These recipes are, like I said before, are in my cookbook, Cooking with Susan. And I will put my email address on the bottom, and on the bottom of this description, and you can order it if you want. This is a small book. Charging $10 plus $3 plus for postage, and I have another cookbook in the works, which will be combining these recipes with all the other recipes I have, and that's going to be a big book, believe me. But for now, these are the recipes I have. Make sure you subscribe if you like this, if you like the recipes, if you like the content of this. Make sure you subscribe and hit the button, hit the bell down there. I have more recipes, have more bread recipes. In fact, I have enough bread recipes, I think, to have 3 or 4 each day of the week. And bread is going to be something we're going to want. It's something we eat all the time, or we use all the time. So if you can't get bread, you might go hungry that way. If you have your yeast, if you have your flour, make sure you have your yeast and you have your flour on hand, so you can make these things. And what other ingredients you need. Like I said, 2 of my recipes, I use one specific ingredient, and that's the only reason I have it in my house, because I don't drink it or anything else. I just use it for these recipes. All right. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow with more bread recipes. Bye-bye. This is Susan from Susan's Rambling.